The story starts in 1431. Ayutthaya Kingdom was led by King Boromorachatirath II back then. He wanted more land, so he told his soldiers to go and get it from some other kingdoms in the east. They'd fought for a long time, over a year, but in the end, they got a big win by capturing a place called the Holy City. Now there was a commander named Kop. One day, he was seen running away with Prince Tian. Prince Tian was on the most wanted list by the Ayutthaya soldiers. To keep Prince Tian safe, Kop decided to leave him in the forest so the soldiers wouldn't find him. But Kop wasn't so lucky. He got trapped by a lot of archers who immediately shot Kop dead. The next day, Tian was hiding under a big tree. But some people who buy and sell humans found him. They wanted to sell Tian. He wasn't having it though, and he fought back. This made Hek, the leader of these bad guys, really mad. So, Hek threw Tian into a pond with a big crocodile. Just when things looked really bad for Tian, a group of thieves, led by a guy named Chernang, saw what was happening. Chernang thought Tian was brave. So, he and his gang jumped in and fought the bad guys. After beating them, Chernang handed Tian a sharp knife and told him to finish the fight with the crocodile. He also said that life isn't easy and Tian have to fight to survive. With Chernang's help and the knife, Tian was brave enough to beat the crocodile. Chernang brought Tian to his secret base under Garuda Hill. There, Tian met a guy named Gong who knows a lot about special powers. Gong observed Tian and noted his significant fighting talent. He thought Tian could become a strong fighter someday. Chernang asked Tian if he wanted to stay and learn how to fight. At first, Tian wasn't sure. But after seeing Chernang's kid training super hard, he decided to stay. So Tian stayed and learned all sorts of cool fighting stuff, like Muay Thai, sword fighting, kung fu, and even magic. He trained really hard, day and night. Fast forward 15 years, and Tian's all grown up, knowing a lot about fighting. He even took on a big elephant group and became the boss of the toughest elephant there. Then, Chernang decided to test Tian's skills with 3 tough fights. First, Tian faced off against a guy who was skilled with a sword. It was a tough match, but Tian came out on top. Next up was a kung fu expert, and Tian won again. But the third fight was tricky. Tian had to battle a massive Muay Thai fighter who was all sweaty and slippery. It was tough, but Tian, being smart, pinned him down using a special move. After all that, Chernang had one more test. He sent Tian into a dark cave where a guy, who went nuts practicing tiger fighting, was waiting. The two of them went at it, and then Chernang threw in a twist. He gave them both knives. They had to fight until one was left standing. It was wild, but Tian, being the fighter he is, managed to win. After some time, Chernang told his crew that Tian was going to be the new boss of Pakpek Parat. Chernang was feeling his age and thought Tian had what it took to lead everyone. Once he was in charge, Tian and his gang went on a mission. They jumped a bunch of messengers carrying a statue of the king of Ayutthaya. After they took the statue, something clicked in Tian's memory. Turns out, when Tian was a kid, his parents, who were the great commander and leader in the holy capital, sent him to a dancing village. There, an old dude named Bo taught him to dance. Tian's dad, Wang, told Bo a secret. A big-shot commander, Rajasena, turned against his own people. He took over and got rid of anyone who didn't agree with him, even Tian's own dad, Wang. After Tian's parents dropped him off with Bo, they went back to their city to defend it. While chilling in the dancing village, Tian made friends with a dancer named Phim. Tian wasn't super happy though. He wanted to be in the fighting hut, not the dancing one. He wanted to be tough enough to stand up to the bad guys. Out of the blue, one of Tian's dad's guys came to get Tian, saying he needed to be hidden somewhere safe. But on their way, they bumped into Commander Kop, a good friend of Tian's family. It turns out, the guy wasn't really taking Tian to a safe place. He was taking him straight to Rajasena, but Kop wasn't having it. He fought off the bad guys, saving Tian. They then ended up in a village where Tian saw the worst thing ever, Rajasena taking out his parents. Tian couldn't help but shout, which gave away his hiding spot. That's when Kop grabbed Tian and made a run for it, getting him as far away as possible. And that's the scene we see at the start of the movie, where Tien gets tossed into the woods. In the present, at a market, Heck turns out to be still alive and is back leading the group of slave traders. This time, he's got even more people to sell. At one point, he cruelly tried to split a mom from her kid, planning to sell them separately. When he was being mean to the lady, some drunk guy threw a jug at Heck's head. Heck got mad and attacked the drunk dude, but it turned out that the man was Tien, now back for some payback. Tien didn't waste any time, taking down Heck by grabbing his neck and then dealing with Heck's crew too. After the fight, Tien's buddies showed up and took over the market. To settle the score, Tien had his team toss Heck into a crocodile pool, and Tien set all the slaves free, letting them go back to their regular lives. Long story short, Tien went back to his base, and Chernang could tell Tien had something on his mind. Tien didn't spill the beans about wanting to get back at Rajasena for what he did to his family. Chernang, as Tien's teacher, told him to complete his mission, but to return afterward. The next morning, Tien started heading to Rajasena's big fancy palace. On the way, he saw villages that Rajasena had destroyed. That night at the palace, Rajasena was having a fancy party with his pals. During the event, royal employees presented a dance, which was apparently performed by Phim. Phim has now grown into a mature and beautiful woman. After the dance, Phim was called to Rajasena. Next, there was an eagle dance by a guy in a mask. During his dance, the masked man noticed Rajasena staring at Phim. Suddenly, the dancer threw fire towards Rajasena and the other officials. The dancer turns out to be Tien. He wanted to get back at Rajasena for his parents' deaths. Thinking he got Rajasena, Tien made his escape by diving into a river, but he left behind a special dagger from Chernang. This clue made the royal folks realize Tien was with the Pakpek Perat gang. When Tien got back to his group's base, no one was there. Instead, he ran into a royal assassin, the same guy who took out his dad. Tien didn't think twice and battled the assassin. Just when he thought he won, more assassins jumped in. Tien, skilled as he was, started to get overwhelmed. But just in time, his big elephant buddy, the Alpha, came to his rescue. However, an assassin who has all martial arts skills appears to attack Tien. Tien was thrown off. He'd never seen this fighting style before. The assassin had Tien on the ropes, and just when things looked super bad, royal soldiers showed up to nab Tien. And Rajasena was still alive. He'd worn a protective vest the night before. Tien's jaw dropped when he saw Chernang with Rajasena's crew. Chernang was the assassin who'd been sent to kill Tien's dad 15 years ago. Chernang went after Tien, saying he wished he'd known Tien was the prince Rajasena was after, or he would have ended him long ago. Just as Chernang was about to finish Tien, Tien broke his sword and got Chernang in the neck with the piece he had left. Chernang was done for, but Tien was super torn up about it. Even though Chernang had taken out his parents, he'd also been Tien's teacher. Tien was surrounded and didn't have the strength to resist Rajasena's guys anymore. Tien got captured and Rajasena decided to put him through 13 crazy tough punishments. By the time Tien is serving his 8th sentence, which is being beaten with a cane stick with his hands tied in chains, he was pretty worn out. But then Rajasena said something dumb about sending Tien after his dad, and that got Tien fired up. He tried to fight back, but there were just too many soldiers. They got him again. Rajasena wanted to make sure Tien couldn't fight anymore, so he told his guys to break Tien's elbows and hips. Meanwhile, in the dancer village, the residents experienced a sudden disaster. The disaster took the form of a very unreasonable mass possession. Boa tried to figure out what was going on. He found out it was some shaman and owl warrior dude named Booty causing the chaos. Booty is the man who previously managed to beat Tien. Boa decided to become a monk, hoping to get closer to Buddha. Meanwhile, Rajasena was seeing and hearing weird stuff, like whispers from a guy named Pradya. Turns out Pradya used to be a commander-in-chief before Rajasena tricked him, poisoned him, and took his place. Before Pradya died, he put a curse on Rajasena, saying he'd have a miserable end. One night, Rajasena had a creepy dream. He was then jolted awake by some chaos happening in his palace. The Pakpek Perat robbers were trying to free Tien, their leader, but Budi was super strong and could easily kill the Pakpek Perat robbers one by one. Rajasena, seeing how good Budi was, tried to recruit him, but Budi flipped the script, suggesting Rajasena should follow him instead, since he knew about the curse and said he could fix it. Rajasena, not wanting to look weak, turned him down flat. The next day, as Rajasena was about to get rid of Tien, a commander from the king of Central Ayutthaya showed up. The commander announced that Prime King Ayutthaya would take over Tien for release. This order was an order from the Prime King directly, so even Rajasena could not refuse. He guessed someone from his team had tipped off the Prime King. Tien ended up in the dancer village where Finn recognized him. Just when they were trying to get him some help from Boa, Rajasena's hit squad showed up to take Tien out. Thankfully, the king of Central Ayutthaya's team stepped in, leading to a massive fight. The guy who had spilled the beans on Rajasena even helped save Tien, but sadly didn't make it through the fight. After that, Boa and some monks tried a wild healing method on Tien, like wrapping him up and using smoke. To help him heal faster, Boa made a special statue called Ongbak, using gifts from villagers who wanted to help Tien. After days of that intense healing, Tien woke up, but he couldn't move because of what Rajasena did to him. Finn tried to cheer him up, but Tien wasn't having it and told her to get lost. Feeling super down, Tien thought about ending it all by jumping off a cliff. But then, a guy named Hanley, who was super upset about losing a bet, interrupted him. As they were there, Boa showed up. He reminded Tien that his name means light and pointed at the rising sun. Boa told Tien he should be like the sun, bringing light into the dark. That hit Tien right in the feels and he decided not to jump. After that, Boa told Tien to go to a forest temple and clear his mind. While there, Tien worked super hard on moving again by twisting and turning in his own way, and he beat the paralysis. One morning, while doing some stretches, Finn popped by. She wanted to dance, and Tien agreed. Tien was also fascinated by Finn's beauty, so the two of them ended up loving each other. After a bit, Tien gave Boa a shout-out for pointing him in the right direction. Tien started mixing Muay Thai moves with dance steps. This way, his fights looked elegant but were super powerful. Meanwhile, Rajasena kept having bad dreams and thought visiting Budi's temple might help. Instead of helping, Budi tried to use his magic on Rajasena and told him to step down from power. Rajasena didn't want to give up, so he took out his sword to fight. But Budi was way stronger and easily beat him. When Rajasena's soldiers tried to help, Budi took them all out without breaking a sweat. At the end, Budi chopped off Rajasena's head. After that, Budi declared himself the king. The next day, Tien was chilling and practicing by a big tree when suddenly Budi's soldiers showed up, trying to attack him. But with Tien's new fighting style, he easily took them down. Rushing back to the village, Tien saw that the people had been kidnapped by Budi's troops. More soldiers tried to stop him, but he beat them too. He found Boa, who was surprisingly still around, and Boa told Tien to go and fight those bad guys, but always for the right reasons. Over at the palace, Budi was up to no good. He was making his soldiers hurt the people to make them build a temple for him. And as if that wasn't bad enough, he decided to drink elephant blood for power. Tien showed up, which made Budi both nervous and excited because he finally had a real challenge. Budi then did some dark magic that caused an eclipse, making the people think he was some kind of god. Budi, feeling all-powerful, hurt Finn, which made Tien super mad. Tien got ready to take on all of Budi's soldiers. Tien was in the middle of a battle, using an elephant to toss a big Garuda statue, when Budi suddenly threw a spear that hit Tien. Everyone thought Tien was done for, but Tien had some power from Buddha. He cleared his mind and went back in time to before Finn was hurt. Tien then called on the power of God Ongbak to bring back the sunlight, breaking the eclipse. That sun made Budi's soldiers weak and messed up Budi's dark magic big time. Tien and Budi then had a super intense face-off. Budi tried the spear trick again, but Tien was ready this time and caught it. With a little help from his elephant buddy, Tien finally beat Bude. After all that drama, the villagers went back to their peaceful ways, showing their respect to God Ong Bak. After beating Bude, Tien shared his martial arts moves with others, and they kept teaching them all the way to today's Thailand. Back in a place called Nong Pradu, a bunch of young guys had a competition. They climbed a big tree to grab a cloth from its top. Until finally, a young man named Thing managed to grab the cloth and immediately came down from the tree. Thing received cheers from the residents because he was officially the winner. Later, everyone went to a temple to thank a special statue, Lord Ong Bak. This statue was made by Bo long ago to help heal Tien. People believe this statue brings good luck to their village. They were even having a big 7-day party for the statue. During this, a guy named Don, who moved to the big city, showed up. He wanted to buy a magical amulet from the village leader. According to history, the amulet has mystical powers. Unfortunately, the village head doesn't want to sell it because it was a gift from his grandfather. In the evening, Thing was practicing some Muay Thai moves he learned from a village monk. While practicing, Thing was approached by the monk who warned him not to misuse the moves. After the monk took off, his uncle Pabao explained that the monk once used those very moves to hurt people, which is why he became a monk, to make up for it. That night, while Pabao was about to sleep at the temple, Don sneaked in and knocked him out because he wanted to steal the head of the Ong Bak statue for his boss. Morning came and the village was in tears. Their precious statue's head was missing. And there was a belief, if the head wasn't put back soon, the village would face a bad drought. Knowing this, Thing wanted to chase down Don to get back the Ong Bak statue's head. The monk handed Thing a special amulet, a kind of herbal mix, telling him it might come in handy. Before Thing set off for Bangkok to find Don, the village chief gave him a note. It was for his son, Hamley, who lived in Bangkok. The chief believed Hamley would help Thing with his mission. Unfortunately, Thing didn't have the money to go, so the residents also collected money for Thing to prepare for their trip to Bangkok. Over in Bangkok, Hamley, who his dad thought had a decent office job, was actually up to no good. He made cash from betting and peddling drugs. And he wasn't alone. He had help from Muay, an orphaned girl who would do almost anything to pay for her education. Sometime later, Thing landed in Bangkok and bumped into Hamley. Initially, Hamley didn't recognize Thing, but when he realized Thing had cash on him, he changed his tune. Offering a place for Thing to crash, Hamley wasn't as good-hearted as he seemed. He sneakily told Thing to freshen up, eyeing the money from the villagers. Hamley then took the cash and dashed to an underground fight club to gamble it all away. There, Hamley went all in betting on a fighter named Ali who was taking on another dude named Black. The gym was also a spot where Boss Don's big guy, Kamchuan, made his money. Eventually, Don ran into Kamchuan, who was expecting this ancient amulet from Don. Instead, Don handed over the head of the stolen Ong Bak statue. But to Kamchuan, that statue's head wasn't that big of a deal or worth much. After Don was sent away, Kamchuan went back to betting with a Chinese guy named Pao. He put a lot of money on a fighter called Pierre. When Pierre won his match, Thing approached Hamley demanding the villagers' money back. But Hamley, being cheeky, told Thing to get it himself from the counter. Unaware, Thing walked straight through the fighting arena, and the host saw an opportunity. He announced Thing as Pierre's next opponent. The fight began suddenly, but Thing took Pierre down with a single move. However, Thing was a good person, so he refused the gift and preferred to take the money back from the Pradu residents. Later, Thing was super mad at Hamley for misusing the villagers' trust. He decided to search for Don on his own. Back in Pradu village, things weren't great. There was a severe drought, and the villagers were praying for Thing to quickly find the head of the Ong Bak statue and bring it back. The next day, Hamley teamed up with a bookie named Lau for some gambling. Hamley was not just a slick card player, but also good at cheating. He helped Lau win again and again. Muay joined in too, and with Hamley's help, she kept winning. This raised Lau's suspicions. Hamley noticed and quickly sent Muay away to avoid getting caught. Later, they split the money they won. Out of nowhere, a thug named Manu shows up, claiming Hamley owes him. He took their cash, and even though Hamley tried to settle part of his debt, Manu roughed him up. Thing spotted this from a distance. Initially, he looked the other way, but when he saw Muay getting hurt, he stepped in and defended them. After the scuffle, Hamley made a deal with Thing. He'd help find the Ong Bak statue if Thing fought to earn money for him. Thing wasn't into the idea of fighting for cash, which really ticked off Hamley. Hamley dismissed the Ong Bak statue as just a plain rock. This got under Thing's skin, and he lost his temper, landing a punch on Hamley. Just then, Manu and his crew, along with Lau, who was pretty upset with Hamley, showed up. Seeing they were outnumbered, Thing, Hamley, and Muay decided it was best to bolt. After a wild chase, Thing managed to evade them by scaling a tall fence. Once they were safe, Hamley came around, deciding to genuinely help Thing. He took him back to the betting place, spilling that Don dealt with shady stuff there. As Thing scanned the crowd for Don, Kamchuan noticed him and had him thrown into a match with Big Bear. Thing didn't want any part of it since he was just there for Don. But when Big Bear mocked Muay Thai, Thing got riled up and was ready to face him. However, another guy took offense and stepped up to challenge Big Bear, but he was way outmatched and quickly got beaten down. Big Bear wasn't done causing trouble. He even slapped a lady. That was the last straw for Thing, who jumped into the ring to take him on. Using the Muay Thai moves he learned from Tien, Thing took Big Bear down. Just when he thought he could catch his breath, a fighter named Toshiro landed a kick on him, challenging him to another match. Toshiro's quick footwork gave Thing a hard time, but with a well-timed Sawada cap kick, Thing came out on top. Next up was Mad Dog, known for his ruthless fighting style. Surprisingly, Thing handled him much easier than the others, but Mad Dog wasn't about to let it go. He grabbed Muay, trying to use her as leverage. Thankfully, Thing was quick to act, saving Muay and storming into Kamchuan's room. Unexpectedly, Kamchuan handed Mad Dog a knife, clearly wanting Thing out of the picture. But Thing was on his game, sending Mad Dog flying off the top floor with a swift kick. The crowd went wild, showering Thing with coins in appreciation. Even though he failed to find Don, Thing felt happy because he could eat noodles from the results of his fight. Back at Hamley's place, though, they ran into a snag. The landlord was on their case about unpaid rent. Seeing Hamley's tough situation, Thing handed over a precious ring from his village as collateral. Witnessing Thing's big heart made Hamley see things differently. He realized how committed Thing was to retrieving the Ong Bak statue. Touched by this, Hamley decided he was all in, ready to help Thing and save their village. The following day, Hamley take Thing to Don's place and use a distraction to get him out. They used a woman to get Don to open his door. As soon as he did, Thing was on him. But they got a nasty surprise inside. Don's girlfriend overdosed on drugs. Don seized this moment to bail, hopping into a tuk-tuk and speeding off. Thing and Hamley were hot on his trail, but soon Don's buddies joined the chase, making things even crazier. After a wild tuk-tuk chase and shaking off Don's crew, Thing finally cornered him. But Don was desperate and floored it, sending them both crashing into a river. Floating in the river, Thing stumbled upon a stash of valuable stolen antiques, likely Kamchuan's doing, meant for the black market. This discovery led to a big government operation to recover these priceless treasures. The news channels were all over it, highlighting the immense value of these artifacts. The next day, as Hamley and Muay were just hanging out, they got snatched up by Don's crew. These goons dragged them to Kamchuan's main spot. Kamchuan then ordered Hamley to convey to Thing that the two would return the head of the statue of Ong Bak and release Muay if Thing wanted to fight against his right hand named Same. Hamley relayed the message to Thing, and even though he wasn't thrilled about it, Thing knew he had to step up and take the challenge. The showdown between Thing and Same was set on the Thailand-Myanmar border. Kamchuan had a sneaky motive for wanting Thing to take a dive. He was trying to win big against Pao, who'd been on a winning streak. And as if the odds weren't stacked enough against Thing, right before the match, Same got a shot of some kind of super strength booster, making him even tougher to beat. After a tough fight, Thing ended up losing and was pretty roughed up. After the fight, Don, trying to be all sneaky with a helmet on, took Thing and Hamley to this warehouse to see Kamshuan. Turns out, Kamshuan wasn't about to give up the Ong Bak statue head. He was ticked off at Thing for messing up his stuff in the river. Kamshuan headed back to his spot and told Don to take care of Thing. But just when Don's guys were about to make their move, Thing sprang into action, taking them down one by one. Once he dealt with Don, Thing got a tip that Kamshuan had taken the Ong Bak head to some cave deep in the woods. Even though Thing wanted to handle it alone, Hamley wasn't about to stay behind. After all, he was from Nong Pradu too. Thing and Hamley sneaked into the cave, and there were guards everywhere. Thing using his martial arts moves to take down these guys left and right. Inside the cave, he found Kamshuan and Saming, who were messing with a big old Buddha statue from the Old Kingdom days. And more of Kamshuan's goons jumped Thing. One even had a chainsaw, which nearly killed him. But Hamley jumped in, saved Thing, and got his arm hurt in the process. Thing, seeing his buddy hurt, he took down Kamshuan's men. Not long after, Thing had to face Saming. Thing had amulet that monk gave him, which was supposed to boost his fighting power. Thing started fighting against Saming, and the amulet given by the monk proved successful in making Thing strong enough to beat Saming until he was black and blue. But these statue workers weren't giving up. They tried to chop the Buddha statue's head off. Meanwhile, Saming was back after pumping himself with some kind of boost. The fight was on. Thing remembered his village and came back swinging. With the signature knee kick, he put Saming down for good. Seeing Saming's defeat, Kamshuan tried to destroy the head of the statue of Ong Bak with a hammer. Hamley, being the hero, jumped in front to shield it. But then, out of nowhere, a big Buddha head crushed Kamshuan. Sadly, Hamley got caught under some rocks too. Thing and Muay tried to help him out, but he was stuck pretty bad. Before Hamley passed away, he told Thing to pass a message to his parents, that he really loved them. Thing then took the Ong Bak statue head back to Pradu village. Everyone there threw a big party to celebrate, but Hamley's parents were heartbroken, missing their son. And that's how the Ong Bak movie series wrapped up, from parts 2 and 3 to the first one. Moral lesson from the story is no matter how tough things get, always remember your roots, help your friends out, and stand by what you believe in. It's the real secret to growing as a person and being good at heart.